Here with Robin Staps from, well, my first question actually is it the Ocean or the Ocean Collective?
Whatever you want.
Okay.
It should be the Ocean, but our website still runs under the Ocean Collective, and yeah, the collective is still kind of there, but the band has consolidated now, so we refer to it as the Ocean.
So you do have a solid lineup, like you consider that the band, there's not the band, and then the collective.
Right now, it is like that. We have the band with fixed members, there's 5 fixed core members, and then there's the collective that is kind of like floating around this core. Those are people that come into play whenever we need them, but that are not regularly on tour with us, like classical instrumentalists that play on the albums or play certain live shows with us, but we can't really take them on a US tour. Obviously, it would be too expensive. So they're kind of like part of the band, but not like a fixed part of the band.
How long have you had the 5-member lineup that you have now?
Well, the most recent addition was our new vocalist, Loic Rossetti. He joined us in the summer of 2009, just before we started recording Heliocentric. And the other 3 guys, apart from myself, have been in the band for about 3 years now. So Loic has only been with us for a good almost 2 years, and the other guys for like 3.5 years or something like that.
Okay, you've gone through a lot of lineup changes.
Yeah.
I guess especially vocalists. You've worked with, God, how many vocalists have appeared
I don't know,
on just
man.
recorded material?
Way too many. Well, yeah, I mean, the most important ones were probably 5 or 6 vocalists. There was Nico Webers and Meta, who sang on Fluxion and Aeolian mainly, apart from the guest vocalists we had there, and then Mike Pilot, who did about 2.5 years of really intense touring with us, and then now Loic. So like those were the most important ones. But in the early days, we had heaps of people and like in and out of the band. And yeah, we had almost like 40 band members, and it's been really hard for me to find the right lineup of people that you can rely on, that are good musicians and good people that you want to sit in a tour van with, together with for like 6-7 months a year. And yeah, and people who are willing to live this kind of life and dedicate everything to it. So that was hard to find, but I found these people about 3 years ago now, and I think the lineup is very stable now and very firm. It's going to last.
Well, your 2 2010 albums, Heliocentric and
Anthropocentric.
Yes, that one. They've been very well received. Everybody loves those albums. I have a question. Why did you decide to release them separately, considering that there's a certain similarity in theme?
There is. We did not want to overcharge people, overchallenge people with releasing too much music at once now. I think if you're doing that, you're not really doing your own songs justice, because people have a very short attention span these days. And we had that experience with Precambrian, which was also a double album with almost like 100 minutes of music, and we released those 2 halves together. And from my experience, some people just didn't even take the time to listen to the first half of the album entirely. Of course, the fans that are really into it will do, but we wanted to be able to make it possible for people to really focus on each side of these albums, and we thought that releasing them separately with like a time span of about half a year in between the 2 releases would be the best idea to go about doing that.
When you tour, do you play songs from both albums, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a very, we have 35 minutes set time on this tour, so it's tough to make a selection. We can only play 4 songs live because our songs are rather epic and long. So it's like it's 1 or 2 anthropocentric songs, 1 or 2 heliocentric songs, and then usually just 1 Precambrian track, and that's all we can squeeze into this short set time here.
Yeah, fair enough. Do you mind telling me, how did you come up with the theme, or themes, I guess, for the 2 albums? Because it's not a lot of albums reference that many philosophical outlooks, really. I just wonder, how did you come up with it, or how was it decided?
Well, I've been wanting to make a concept album about the legacy of Christianity for a long time. I was initially getting into that whole thing when I was living in the US at age 16 with a diehard Christian Baptist creationist host family, and had these discussions with my host sister on a daily basis about Earth being 5,000 years old and the dinosaurs, that never existed and this kind of stuff. And at that time I thought it was hilarious, but at the same time it struck me how someone so young and not stupid was obviously possessed by ideas that were not her own. And from then on, I've been studying philosophy. I've read a lot of religious philosophers and started really getting into the subject matter. So it was not that I was like looking for a concept, and like digging through libraries or whatever. It was all stuff that I had exposed myself to over the years. And then, of course, like when the whole project started to take shape with the 2 albums, I got even more into it, but it was something that was already there before.
Interesting. Did you have a goal in presenting these cases, you know, to convert anybody, or was it just of interest to you?
No, we're not. We're not about converting people, really. I like to sketch out ideas in a rather. It can be in a rather clear way, or sometimes some of our lyrics are, you know, quite ambiguous, and you can look at them from different angles. But it's not about converting people. I mean, I'm an atheist, and of course my views kind of shine through if you read the lyrics of our songs on these two albums, I think.
Right.
But it's more, it's not a you know, it's not a pagan Satanist metal album. It's not about like crosses turned upside down or anything like that. It's more like a philosophical critique, and we are presenting different angles on the subject matter. And that's important to me to keep it kind of balanced, you know, so that people will draw their own conclusions rather than just, you know, yeah, telling them something that they have to accept the way it is.
It's more thought-provoking, I find.
Exactly, yeah,
really
that's the goal.
3 songs on Anthropocentric, The Grand Inquisitor. Can you tell me about those? What was the background story to those tracks?
The Grand Inquisitor is a chapter in Fyodor Dostoevsky's novel, The Karamazov Brothers. And it's basically a fiction tale of a story of a second coming of Christ in the Sevilla of the 16th century. And he's been arrested by the Catholic Inquisition and questioned by this Grand Inquisitor, who basically says that he deceived humanity and stripped them of, deprived them of salvation. It's a very long story, but it's a conversation between the two brothers, an atheist and a monk, basically, that is reflecting this whole subject matter. And the 3 songs make reference to that chapter. There's lots of original texts that we use as quotes in those songs, and there's actually a 4th chapter too, which did not end up on the album, because we thought in the end it did not really fit the musical context, so that's going to be released separately at one point throughout this year. So there's actually 4 chapters, but only 3 of them ended up on the Anthropocentric album, and that's kind of like the heart of the album. It's also discussing the whole theodicy problem, which is basically that you know, Christians usually want God to have 3 main attributes. They want him to be benign and omnipotent and omniscient. And if you consider the fact that there clearly is evil out there in the world, which this chapter is discussing a lot in the Karamazov Brothers, then at least one of these 3 attributes cannot be true. Because if there was evil and God was omnipotent and benign, then he would be able to do something about it and change it. And that's like that's the root problem that's being discussed there, pretty much.
Interesting. As a fan, I have to ask, what format is Part 4 coming out in? Digital single or?
What format is what coming out in?
Part 4.
Part 4. We haven't decided yet. There are no definite release plans, but we have another track that was only released on a compilation. And we want to properly release that too, to make it accessible for everyone. So there's 2 tracks pretty much that are probably going to come out together. And then we have a couple of acoustic versions of some of the heavier songs of Anthropocentric, like the Grand Inquisitor 2, Roots and Locusts, for example, or Heaven TV. There's acoustic versions to these songs that have not been properly recorded, but just sketched out as demos. So we may as well you know, record those properly and then release all that together. It's probably going to be either like a split release. I have a couple of bands in mind that I would like to do this with, or it's going to be like an EP. But nothing definite has been planned here yet. It's probably going to come out in the second half of the year on my own label, Pelagic Records.
Okay, cool. Well, looking forward to it, no matter how it comes out. And I want to ask you one last question. What are you listening to now? What bands have got your ear? Old or new, whatever.
I've listened quite a lot to the last Between the Burn and Me album recently,
Yeah,
because we were going on this tour, obviously, and I wanted to, make myself familiar with the material. It's awesome. It's really outstanding. I haven't really listened to so much music lately. I was just really busy preparing for this tour, and I'm not the kind of person that listens to music while working. And at the same time, I had to rehearse with the Ocean for this tour and with my other band Earthship, who are going to join us for the European leg of the tour later. So I've been in the rehearsal room the past 4 weeks, like almost like 7-8 hours a day. And then when you come home, you don't really want to listen to music. Right. So I've mainly listened to completely different stuff, like Gonzalez, you know, Count Piano stuff, or Gordian Knot, or like, yeah, some jazzy, dark jazzy stuff like the Esbjörn Svensson Trio and stuff like that. Nothing that has anything to do with metal, really.
And Gordian Knot, a little bit.
Well,
there's
yeah,
a connection
that's
there.
the reference, yeah.
Okay. And between the Buried and Me, you could listen to
course.
nothing but that,
yeah.
and you're pretty well set.
Yeah.
Robin, thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks.
Great to meet you.
For inviting me. Cheers.
ExploreMusic wears English Laundry apparel.